And well, hello everybody. Welcome to part two of our kind of an inspiration series. And what we're doing is we're working with Sculpey and talking to the design team. So we did talk a bit about the design team specifically in part one, but I kind of want to talk to you guys on part two a little bit more about yourselves and not going so deeply about I guess what you do as a part of the design squad. So more about you guys specifically. So Teresa Salgado, you are Tiny Pandora online, and you've been around a long time. So even when I had my long break, I still knew who you were because I've been following you for years. And
Yeah.
also Hollee Gaytan, and very excited because you're bringing on all this fresh perspective. And I know a lot of members and even non-IPCA members are really excited to see all the new jewelry designs that new designers are coming out with all the time. All right, let's start with you then, Teresa. We're gonna first of all, I want you to tell me a little bit about yourself. Things I usually get the questions asked a lot, like how long have you been working with polymer clay, and how did it come on your radar about polymer clay?
Okay, sure. Well, I've been a crafter, I think, since birth, but my first crafting memory is age 5. So I'm going to be 69 soon. So I've been crafting for 64 years. I discovered polymer clay in 2010, like January 1st. So I can always count that year. And by 20, see, that was 2010. So by 2013, I started making videos. And then by 2016, I was sponsored and had a magazine column and stuff like that. Everything really happened for me. I was very, very fortunate and met some nice people. And I got into it full time. By 2013, I'd already stopped my other job and was doing it full time. I discovered it through a book that I found at a little craft store that was a local little couple neighbors had a small craft store in the town I had just moved to. And I came in and they had craft books and there was this clay book. And I probably told the story 1,000 times, but it still is the thing. I was like falling in love. It was a lot like falling in love. I was so snapped into it that I just probably drove everybody crazy talking about it like you do when you have a new sweetheart. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And, it just really was a turning point for me craft wise. I knew I would be doing it forever and I probably will.
Yeah. So then with you being with Tiny Pandora, did I read that your daughter also is in business with you?
Yes. So I started Tiny Pandora in 2016. And that was because I had some rods, little rods like these. Different sizes. And so I was just posting something on Facebook, a little video clip or maybe a picture. And a dozen people in an hour said, where'd you get those little plastic things? What do you got there? I want it. And I said, when I called the plastic company, I said, I need high grade plexiglass. I need lucite plexiglass, brand name, something that won't react with clay. And I need this many, I need one of each of these. And they said, well, you don't get one of each of those. You got to get 100 for us to fill your order, however many it was. So I said, well, okay, I'll try it. So I think it was 50 actually. So I bought the 50 and then everybody went crazy for them. I didn't have a store or anything. And so somebody said, could I get those? And I said, I've got like 49 sets extra. Yes, you may. So I only used PayPal. It's very limited. I hand addressed each one and mailed them some for 18 bucks.
Yeah.
And, I loved it. I started a business with it because I had a lot of other ideas I wanted to develop.
That's wonderful because I know as we love our tools, and even though we keep buying them, we're not even using them. We just like to collect them. So, okay, Hollee, tell us a little bit about yourself and how polymer clay came on your radar.
Okay, I actually started using polymer clay through a high school art class that I was in. So we were just making little tiny sculptures. I don't even think my art teacher had thought about using it for jewelry. We were purely using it for sculpture, and she would bake them. And I had a ton of fun doing that. So I think I was maybe like 15 in jewelry class at that time. And so I asked my parents to buy me a Sculpey set because they had like the big box at that time. I think they still sell it, that
Yeah.
has all the colors in it. And I started just making little sculptures and giving them to my family just for fun. And I loved using it. And I packed it away because I went to college and then I moved a whole bunch of times, got married, had kids, things like that. And when we were moving recently, I actually found that same pack of Sculpey with some colors I hadn't even opened, and my children were able to use it, and it still stayed, fresh and good and everything. And they've been using it to make sculptures and things as well. But I have just always loved making jewelry. I've always loved earrings, and Sculpey and clay in general is just such a good medium to use. It's so versatile. There's so many different things you can do. And yeah, I started making jewelry and selling it, and it's gone over really well. And I plan to continue for a long time.
So are you one to experiment a lot to figure some stuff out, or was YouTube a big help at the time when you got started?
I would say YouTube helped a little bit, but I mostly just did experiments. I've always been artsy and crafty, and I was making leather earrings for a long time, and using other different mediums, beads and things like that. So yeah, I would say I'm more experimental. And I actually recently started a Patreon page. So I've been teaching other people how to do earrings as well.
Oh my gosh, it makes me feel so good.
Yeah.
Part of the International Polymer Clay Association. It's to put this medium out into the world and get more people on it. And I think the best way to do that is to teach. So I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's been going really well. I've got a lot of positive response. So
all right, Teresa, what inspires you as an artist? So, I mean, it could be that kind of question, but are you also someone who maybe does other things like ceramics and things and find inspiration there? Or it could just be your surroundings. I don't know. So what inspires you as an artist?
Well, mostly the things that I see that that appeal to me, I want to recreate in kaleidoscope canes. That's where, if I didn't have any other work to do and nobody wanted to see anything else, I would just make canes all the time because that's what my thing is. I'm a caner. So really I can look at, the mandala on the wall or any kind of art that I see out there, which is the dot art. I love all that dot stuff they're doing, the dot mandala. Anything like that just makes me want to go make more cane. And every time you make a cane, you learn something. So that's just self-propelling all the time. There's plenty of that to see. I know what I like, and there's a lot of it to see. So I always have something more I want to make.
Hollee, what about you?
I find inspiration in nature. I find inspiration going to art museums and looking at artwork. I find inspiration occasionally in wallpaper, just anything that has a really cool pattern or something that seems interesting that I could recreate. Also, from a business point of view, I need to stay on top of trends and what people are planning to purchase, what people want seasonally and things like that. But yeah, I find inspiration all over the place.
And so because you're in with fashion, you also have to follow the colors that are coming out. So
yeah, definitely.
And do you have a good sense of being able to mix your own colors, or do you
Yes, I do.
write down a formula?
I am terrible at writing down a formula. I actually have a background also in hairstyling. I used to be a hairstylist and I used to educate. And so color theory and like the color wheel and mixing colors and neutralizing colors and all of that sort of thing, I have a really solid eye for. And I find that with clay, it's for me personally pretty easy to eyeball something and be like, okay, I need to add, some brown to this to make it like a more muted green or whatever it is. Like I can pretty much eyeball it, which is something I'd like to get better at, is writing down actual recipes so I can share them with people who are wanting to learn. But yeah, mostly I find that I eyeball it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, my last question before we go to our slideshow presentation. How do you create? And I have met some artists. I took a Loretta Lamb class, and she, was teaching me about design and, sketching. So I actually started, I've never been a sketcher, but I really enjoyed the process. But I've met several artists that it's in their head and then they just can recreate it. So I kind of want to know your process that way. Are you seeing it in your head, sketching it, and then making it, or is it just playing with the clay, then it comes into your head? Teresa, what about you?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I can't draw a lick. I can't draw a stick man, really. It's really sad. And so I know what I want to make. I know what the shapes are like. And with kaleidoscope painting, because it's going to be so small, I'm always concentrated on contrast and scale. So all those are hard rules. And then once I've got that set down, so I've got shape, I've got the contrast, and I've got scale. I can start moving those into pleasing arrangements. And then I take slices off and just reduce little pieces of it and put it back together before I make the whole cane. And that way I can say, no, I'm not going the right direction. That's getting too small. It's losing all its detail, or it's too big and blobby. It needs to be cut in half. I can see as I go what's going to turn out well by now and what's going to just really stink. So that way I've got, the joy of the spontaneity of creating it with the end goal of it having certain hard rules.
Yeah. What about you, Hollee?
I am a list maker. So usually I'll have a whole bunch of ideas in my head of what I want to make. And I'll just start making lists. And then I kind of pick out which ideas are going to go well together to form a collection. I generally release my jewelry on my website and things in smaller collections. So finding and grouping together maybe like a botanical collection that has a lot of leaves, or greener colors and maybe some florals and things like that. So that's kind of where I start, is list making, categorizing, and then I do sketching. So I'll sketch out what maybe like 5 different types of earrings that I want to make, and then what shapes I want to make them in, what colors they should be. So I do have like a lot of note taking that I do before I start something.
I love that idea, because I like to make lists, but I never thought of it for the creative stuff. Is literally stuff I just don't want to forget about work or whatever. So, but I'm gonna actually apply it to creative stuff. So I really like that idea. Okay, so we're gonna now move on to our slideshow, and I'm gonna share my screen and make sure you guys can all see this. Yeah, and you guys can see it okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Hit slideshow now. Right, so we did talk last time a little bit about the Sculpey website and where to find you guys on there. So hopefully everybody will watch that and they know where to find the designers at. And so Teresa, we're going to start with you. So tell us about your pieces here.
That's a bottle that I made after Indie Jam. Indie Jam was my convention, and we did bottles that year. Then I had a Zoom class for the people who couldn't make it to Indie Jam, and so we made a bottle together on Zoom. And that's just some crystals and some gold leaf and polymer clay.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Oh, this is so fun. This was a class on scaled blends. You make a blend and now you got this big giant thing. And you're not going to be jewelry. And I was showing them how to fan fold it and reduce its scale so that you could cut it into smaller pieces. And then I silk screened it. And after I'd silk screened the sheet and cut those out, I realized that I'd slopped some gold leaf was stuck to my pinky, and it got stuck on the earring, part of the earring, and I couldn't get it off. So I just sprinkled a little bit all over.
Oh, that's a great idea. I mean, I suppose your best ideas can come when you make a mistake. So those are beautiful.
Yeah, I just kind of let some of it fall on there because I wanted it to look intentional.
Oh, I love boxes. Not made them, I just love them, and I collect them from other people.
Yeah. Well, the box, the one that's got that's a box, is done with silk screens and jewels, and I think that's acrylic paint there on the top. I just kind of painted in the design the way I wanted to. Use some rhinestone chain or cup chain, and that was a class also. That was a Zoom class, and that's the cutter that we have at my store that everybody liked, so we used that for the class. And then the other one, I don't know what the heck it is. It was this, I think it must be some kind of a dish, but I flipped it over and put some translucent cane on it and put a light inside because I thought it had kind of a magic to
Oh, that's cool.
it.
Gosh, look at your canes. Oh my goodness. I love kaleidoscope canes too. And I'm just like, wow.
Thank you. Yeah, this was super fun. The red and black one is a patchwork technique, and it's super easy for anybody. And all you do is, make some material and you cut it up and kind of make it all crazy, just like crazy quilt. And then you get it nice and flat and smooth down, and then you can silk screen it, and that draws all the pieces together. So that's a pretty simple technique. And then the one on the right, the one with all the chain and stuff, was not so simple. It was more of a really intentional kaleidoscope cane that scale could be made small enough for the band and yet still stand out in the bottom piece in the pendant. So I don't know, it was a little underwhelming on the pendant, and that's why I didn't put the pendant on top of the filigree. I squeezed the cane up through the filigree to break it up and give it a lot more interest because it had become so small inside.
Yeah. Okay. And this is your caning process here, it looks like.
Yeah, these are super easy canes. I've got some video coming out about these pretty soon on YouTube. And these are just a very simple flower and leaf cane that anybody can make. And we reduced them to teeny tiny. We made some slabs for earrings because that's so popular.
Yeah, is that one of your most requested thing is jewelry, or I mean, are a lot of so some of your fans and they request things. Are they wanting you to do jewelry, or they want you to do specifically clay techniques? What are you hearing from your
they got so many things that they want to make, everything from home decor to the smallest jewelry. But they want me to teach caning. In fact, I almost damaged my YouTube reputation by doing things other than caning a little too often, and people didn't like it. They said that's not what we want from you. So I'm trying to go back to more caning instead of all these other techniques, which are very fun. But that they know what they want.
So this piece on the left almost looks like ceramic beads to me.
Isn't that the fun thing? Those are wooden beads. They're wooden beads, and that I'll be teaching that on Zoom a month after next, I think. And that is inlay, and it's really cool. You make some simple canes. Those are some little flower and leaves, very ordinary. And you reduce them real tiny, and then you slice them, and you use bacon bond, and you put them on a wooden bead. Background's not important because afterwards you get some soft clay. In this case, it's Sculpey 3 or Bake Shop White because it's real soft. And then you can fill it all in, and it looks like it's inlaid.
Wow. So then on the earrings on the right, do you do a lot of sanding and polishing, or do you use resin? What do you do to get that really nice shine?
I do no sanding and no polishing. Is against my religion. And these are 69-year-old hands, so they don't like all that stuff anymore. No, that is a deep shine, which is one product from Tiny Pandora.com. It's a brushable UV resin.
Okay. So of course, Teresa, you're in lots of places. So I've got anyone watching can just pause this and try to find you, but pretty much they just Google Tiny Pandora, all your stuff's going to come up, but this is for everyone to see where you are at your boutique. Do you want to let a couple people know what you do sell on your boutique?
Well, we have a line of all kinds of plexiglass tools. I get Luciter plexiglass, just the name brands, because I don't know if you've seen it, but some of them look like they're acrylic and they're not, and the clay eats into them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So my most popular things are my lucite tools and my deep shine, which is my own formula. Oh, okay. I was holding. Anyway, it's my own formula, and then I sell UV lights and other accessories to go with it. And then I try to invent new things all the time. I've got a sanding deck, a curing deck, things as the need comes up. I try to create them and see who wants.
That's wonderful. Okay, Hollee.
Yes.
Wow, so much detail in here. These are beautiful.
Thank you.
And then on the ones on your right too, oh my gosh, I love the whole marbling thing. Are you sanding and polishing and doing all that kind of work to get your shine here?
I top coat with UV resin also. I do sand if there's any edges, you know, little bits that need to just come off and be polished up. I do sand those, but
Yeah.
I have not yet gotten into the whole wet and dry sanding and polishing technique, simply because I'm very busy and it takes a lot more time.
Oh, it takes so much time. It does. Yeah.
Yeah,
These are beautiful.
thank you.
Oh my gosh. This makes me want to go to the beach. And I'm not even a beach person, but I do like
Yeah.
fish and stuff.
Everything's all beach right now. That's what everybody's wanting to buy, seasonally from me at least.
Mhm.
And you can find in the clay community lots of people making lots of beach themed jewelry. For those, I actually used a mold.
Mhm.
So I pressed clay into a mold and then I used a gold paint pen to add the details. So super simple technique, but they turned out really, really pretty. And then on the other side, I think I used Sculpey Igloo Souffle. And onto that, I pressed some scraps that I had made from an agate rainbow cane.
Mhm.
And they seemed like they really wanted to be folded. So I kind of did a loose folding technique. Yeah, those are some of my favorites. They were really
Oh,
fun.
yeah. It's such a effective because you really don't know what it is and you want to pick it up to see if it's soft, if it's hard, if it's,
Yeah, and they're so lightweight. Like they look like they'd be heavy, but they just feel they have that really nice Sculpey souffle feel. They feel really soft to the touch and they're just yeah, they're pretty.
I I love souffle, and I remember years ago because I was a caner and kind of started up that way, and I remember first time really seeing it, and everybody was like, "What do we do with it?" You know, and from a caning perspective, it's but I love how it looks. It's just so buttery soft, and now
Yeah,
I love it. Absolutely love souffle. Gosh, these your colors are just beautiful. I got to take a
thank
color
you.
class.
Thank you. These were actually made using Sculpey translucent and alcohol inks.
Hmm.
The ones on the left, and then adding in the paint for marbling. For quite a while, over, I guess, like the early spring, I was doing sort of an ink testing series on my Instagram page
Hmm.
where I would pick different inks and test them out because there's so many inks available.
Hmm.
And, people don't really know what color they turn out. And
Yeah.
I wanted to use Sculpey translucent because it's easy to come by, and I love how it bakes and how it adds like a little bit of warm tone to
Hmm.
things that you want that translucency in.
Hmm.
So yeah, so those are two very different techniques with both of these pictures, but they were both from my ink testing.
Hmm. Now, is this souffle? I'm assuming.
Um, I'm not sure.
Oh, if you look closer, you've
I don't remember.
textured it. Okay.
Yeah, I textured it with sandpaper, so I know I believe like the terracotta color is the new terracotta Sculpey.
Mm-hmm.
I used that straight out of the package. I didn't have to mix that with anything to get that color. Yeah, and I did texture them with sandpaper.
Mm-hmm.
So neutrals always go over well. People always want something neutral that they can wear year round. And I'm actually wearing one pair of those right now. The top middle there, the arches. So yeah, I mean the neutrals, you can't go wrong with like the Sculpey terracotta, especially is really, really pretty.
So Holly, are you designing shapes and then having cutters made? Are you freehand cutting a lot of things for your earrings?
I do a fair mixture of both.
Yeah.
I actually just got my own 3D printer. So once I get that up and running, I'll be able to make everything that's in my brain a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, for the most part, I get limited to what I can find to buy from people, or if I feel like freehanding everything.
Mm-hmm.
The freehanding adds more work because you do have to do more sanding to make the edges softer. And yeah, I've got a lot of ideas for once I get that printer up and running.
Okay, and to find you, you're also Glam Pop Design. So, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think if I was putting your name in, Glam Pop was coming up, so they can find you on Instagram, TikTok. You're everywhere too.
Yeah.
So, how much on both of you ladies? I'd like to ask you before we finish, but thank you for sharing with us. But I'd like to ask both of you, and because you're business women, how much time do you get to spend on the creative part, and how much of it is the business of running a business, you know, the whole marketing, photography, all that other stuff? I mean, are you down to like the 10% of the creativity, or is the, you know, because now with all the social media, it seems like it's, you got to just keep creating more content and things like that. So Holly, let's start with you. How much time do you think you get to create?
Not as much as I'd like. It really, the social media aspect really makes you have to work a lot harder to stay current, to stay up to date, to keep people seeing you. Because if you're not being present on social media, if you're not posting reels, if you're not doing posts, if you're not posting in your stories, you kind of like move down the line of where people will see you on Instagram. And that's primarily where I have my focus for the most of my clients and people who follow me are there. So I pretty much have to post a reel every day, every other day. And sometimes that becomes less about my creative process and more about let me make content.
Yeah.
And that's not something that I enjoy as much as the creating. So I'm trying to get back to finding a happy medium, trying to find more ways to maybe split one project into many different reels or many different posts rather than doing like one long reel and things like that. So that combined with sourcing materials, with all the time it takes to, you know, find materials that you want for a project you have in mind as far as hardware and things like that. I mean, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
Updating my website, the photography, all of that is very time consuming.
And then you have to fill orders and all this stuff.
Yes.
Do you have any help? I mean, who do you have any assistants or?
No, not at this point. If at some point I get to where I need an assistant, I think I'm going to try to find someone to intern with me at first. And then if, you know, if money allows, like I would love to hire someone just even to handle social media.
Yeah. What about you, Teresa? I know your daughter helps you, but what's the part of the business that you leave her to her, and then does that give you more time to create, or is just all the paperwork overwhelming?
Well, you know, Holly's right. You know, getting to do the thing that started you out is almost the last thing that you get to do now. But this is my little shop. I've got a studio that I rent. And it's not always great to, you know, to pay that rent every month, but I'm telling you, when I come down here is when I create. I do also video editing and stuff like that when I'm down here because it's nice and quiet. There's a 4-year-old in our house, and so we can't always control what's happening with the videos and stuff.
Yeah.
So I do shoot video, I do edit video. Those are okay to do. I don't mind doing it, but this is where I come to really just completely decompress and do the clay itself. But the business, my daughter does so much of the packaging and inventory and stuff like that. She's also creative and would like to do more of that. But I'm really hoping when I retire, when I'm 70, that I will just do art full time. The one thing that saves me is the teaching. The fact get to be with other students and show them things. That's me being able to create, you know, with them. And that kind of saves me from just all the work stuff, all the business stuff.
Well, thank you both very much for meeting with me. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, so I think if anyone wants to get in touch with you, just they can either email you directly, and or if they, you know, go through the IPCA, we'll definitely make sure we send them your way. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will hopefully see you in the future.
Thank you. Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.